RPG games, that's where this story begins. More specifically, the top-down 2D RPG type of games. We got a few good releases like these that came straight from the US, but these type of games from Japan have shown up throughout the years that have received a ton of popularity. A game like Aoni is a good example, even though it's pretty old. The gameplay is relatively simple, yet there's a uniquely creepy atmosphere and aspect to it that is no doubt amplified by even creepier music. Some of these Japanese RPG adventure games have gained a sort of cult following, and this story is about one of those games known as LCD DEM, a Fangame based off of the more popular Japanese RPG Yume Nikki. Before we actually begin exploring this rabbit hole, I just want to say that this entire story wasn't easy to navigate, and is confusing to say the least. A lot of that can be attributed to a good amount of the details online being written in Japanese. My point being, if there's someone watching this who knows more on the topic, feel free to educate me on the story if I've gotten something wrong. I've researched to the best of my abilities, so I believe everything will be good for the most part. Okay. Now, let's get to the story. Yume Nikki was made in 2004 on a software called RPG Maker 2003. It's an adventure game, however it contains no dialogue, no combat, and no real plot. Instead, you explore the game through the dreams of your character, Marasuki. Apologies if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Although I'm yet to finish Yume Nikki, there is supposedly an overwhelming amount of areas and characters to interact with. And for a game with no real goal, it's managed to gain a lot of love from a lot of people. The entire game carries its own indie horror type aesthetic, and also has an amazing visual aesthetic that is kind of hard to put into words, but sometimes reminds me of LCD Dream emulator. Combine that with the implemented indie horror and hidden mysteries or events, it's no wonder people love the game, and probably its developer. Wait, who is the developer? Well, nobody really knows, and the only name that's ever been credited to the game is Kikiyama, which is just an alias name. Sometime after the original game, Kikiyama gave the rights to Project Yume Nikki, a collaboration with other developers who created merchandise, a manga, and a remastered 3D version of the game that was, well, according to the developers of the poorly received remake, Kikiyama was directly working with them through the game's creation as a supervisor. However, those developers never said Kikiyama's actual name and only referred to Kikiyama as they or them, but everyone pretty much respected Kikiyama's decision to stay anonymous, and were just thankful for the game. Not too long after its release, people began making their own fan-made games that were based off Yume Nikki in some way, and currently there are over 500 known fan games that you can play. However, there is only one that pertains to the topic of this video, and that fan game is LCD DEM. LCD DEM or LCD DEM is just the word Lucid Dream with letters missing. So I'll be referring to the game as Lucid Dream just for the sake of simplicity. Lucid Dream is a Yume Nikki fan game made by an anonymous creator known only as Koronba. The game follows a young girl named Chie, who collects orbs and in-game effects while navigating her lucid dreams, which the dream state is about the only actual place you can visit. The character Chie seems to be locked in her room, possibly her own doing, to forget some traumatic event and using lucid dreaming as a means of escape. Lucid Dream was released in June of 2010 and was updated with newer versions around 4 times. The game is usually considered one of the best Yume Nikki fan games. However, since there is so many, some people swear by others such as .flow or Yume 2KKI, a fan-made sequel to the original game. However, there are many things that differ Lucid Dream from those fan games, and even the original Yume Nikki. For the most part, it doesn't contain the same indie horror aspects. Although traversing these desolate areas do bring a kind of lonely horror of its own, the game is instead much more praised for its visually appealing graphics and design, and what is in my opinion one of the best video game soundtracks I've heard in a very long time. When Lucid Dream is mentioned in any manner, the music is always a topic of discussion. Very soon, Lucid Dream had grown a tight-knit community of players who really loved the game, and not without reason, as its anonymous creator Koronba had done a great job with it. As I mentioned earlier, there were 4 different versions for Lucid Dream, with the last and final version being 0.030, and that version of the game is where this mystery really begins. In April of 2013, Koronba posted a message on the official homepage of Lucid Dream that was utterly confusing. Here's the translation of the message.
This is a Yume Nikki fan game. This isn't Yume Nikki. To those who know about or like Lucid Dream, please avoid talking about Lucid Dream as much as possible. Don't say anything about it.
No one really knew what to make of this. Was it a joke? I mean, as a creator, getting recognition for your work, especially the amount this game received, should be an accomplishment. Why then would he want his fans to forget about it entirely? Well, it was determined not to be a joke at all, as Koronba had deleted all download links to the game. But even further than that, his music that was posted to the video streaming website Nico Nico was also deleted. It contained not only music from the game, but also his personal music that had no correlation or involvement in Lucid Dream. Not long after the strange initial message was posted to the Lucid Dream homepage, an anonymous user posted this statement from Koronba on Uboachan asking if anyone had heard about it and if they knew anything more. A quick side note, I just want to give credit to this thread and the entire Uboachan site. This is where I've gotten most of the information from, and without it, I either wouldn't be making this video, or at the very least it would have taken way too long to get some of the information that's found here. Uboachan is a Yume Nikki fan image board with a style that you probably recognize from 4chan. The people in Uboachan are very nice, and yeah, I just wanted to give credit where it's due. As everyone was reacting to the message that was posted by Koronba, there was some good points being made on the Uboachan thread. This is a real shame. I do think it's pretty unreasonable to expect people to stop thinking and talking about a game that they enjoy. I'd understand asking people not to upload videos or use assets and music from the game, but talking about it altogether? Really? I kind of agree with this post in a way. Releasing a game to the internet that people actually enjoy, then asking them to stop playing it and stop talking about it is a highly unlikely and kind of unrealistic outcome. And there was no explanation given as to why any of this was happening in the first place. But if we actually take a look at Koronba's old Twitter account, there's some more insight on what was going on. His Twitter has since been deleted, but there are some screenshots from the Wayback Machine dating as early as March 16th, 2016. On that date, we get the first of 9 tweets from Koronba, which we'll be going through. A quick warning though, as the tweets contain the topic of self-harm.
My mental state was so exhausted that I practiced ending myself, and decided that I couldn't stand it anymore. So I will delete the sound source and music and announce my retirement. Thank you for what you have done. I still get fan messages and tweets, but the words of the fans are the most painful for me. The fans killed me. I don't even need publicity. I hate being pampered. Your selfish propaganda killed me. To put it bluntly, I want you to delete all unauthorized reprinted videos other than tuna, sardines, lizards, and jellyfish. That's because only those 4 songs were given permission. If you find unauthorized reprints or heartless advertisements, please take the initiative and pay attention. Is it a newcomer who puts commas and punctuation in the reply and inserts a line break? The writing style is too different from other people's, and it feels bad. Floating people like this will unknowingly attack people. I don't know if it's real or fake. If you're ignorant, shut up. That person doesn't talk much. Don't be delusional about people's personalities and judge them. The person who posted the link of the game that was suspended years ago is also guilty. I'm telling you to stop digging up the stalker. I'm disgusted. Please delete the person who wrote the response responsibly. Are you so stupid that you can't understand unless you directly say, "Don't talk about me"? For me, not talking is the happiest fan message.
Even after translating the tweets, they're pretty confusing to understand. It seems that Koronba is upset with certain people and fans that continue to talk about the game or mention his name and music. In the second tweet, he states that the fans have killed him and that the words of the fans are the most painful. It's unsure why that is and if he's talking about before he deleted the game or after. Koronba also seems to be subtweeting people, like in tweets 6 and 7, where he's quoting someone who said, "That person doesn't talk much," and then talks about a stalker digging up old games that were deleted years ago. Another strange thing about Koronba is that he essentially vanished along with his game and his music, but for some reason he leaves 4 specific songs behind that are allowed to be played and listened to. Back to the Uboachan investigation, a user posted a video link from the Japanese streaming site Nico Video, asking if anyone can translate it as it may have information as to what happened to Koronba. The video mostly contains the screenshots of the tweets we've just read, but the person posting the video claims to have more insight on the disappearance of Koronba. Here's what we know from the translation of the video. Mr. Koronba passed away earlier this year. Against his wishes, the murderer newcomer kept calling his name. This video was inspired by his pre-said remarks. I don't have any evidence for myself, but you don't have to believe me. You can upload videos and audio as long as you follow the rules of all the sound sources used. Don't write the author's name. So we see some tweets in the video that we couldn't see before from Koronba's Twitter account, and the author of the video claims that Koronba is dead, doing it to himself because of some fan that wouldn't stop calling him by his name. Like the creator of the video said, he can't offer any proof to his claims, so it should be taken with a grain of salt, and the Uboachan thread never really believed the uploader of this video anyway. As we talked about earlier, Koronba removed all his music and his game Lucid Dream, and then asked no one to mention his name. Yet, he let 4 songs remain, which raised some questions in the Uboachan thread as to why that was. Also, does somebody have a Yahoo account? I can't see what those links have, but they could be related. Also, they seemingly contain the files for the 4 UTAU songs Koronba talked about. And from here, another user translated the Yahoo page. The image says, "You don't have the permissions to access the files. I don't mind if you want to use the music/sounds as long as you abide by the conditions. Just please make sure you don't show the composer's name." That makes the whole affair more odd. At any rate, it feels these messages are only increasing the shadows of uncertainty rather than shedding some light. Whatever may have happened to Koronba is very likely to remain a mystery. The shadows are all we have right now. We should keep on digging up until we find something. What makes those 4 songs different? The user poses a good question about the 4 songs, asking what makes them different. Another user responded to him saying it could be because those were his 4 most popular songs on Nico Nico. But in taking the effort to vanish off the face of the internet, why would Koronba care about popularity? After all, it seems like that was one of the reasons he disappeared in the first place. Okay, so I know we went over a lot of information, and if you're a little confused, I'm going to try and summarize everything we covered up until this point. So an anonymous creator known only as Koronba makes a Yume Nikki fan game called LCD DEM or Lucid Dream. People love the game and the music and Koronba. Sometime later, Koronba posts to the Lucid Dream homepage that no one should mention him or the game and to just forget about it. He also goes as far as to delete the download for the game. Someone on Uboachan asks what's going on and starts an investigation-like thread that goes on for some time. Koronba began posting tweets talking about his depression and exhausted mental state, claiming that he wants to end it all. Through the Uboachan thread, we found a video on Nico Nico, whose creator claims to know more information, claiming that Koronba had passed away. We also don't understand why Koronba has only left the 4 songs. Besides those 4 songs, the game is gone along with all other music and even Koronba himself. This is the point in the story where people in the Uboachan thread begin speculating that Koronba may have an alternate or multiple alternate identities. The first alternate identity was thought to be Speeder 2. There isn't a ton of information on Speeder 2 besides the fact that he makes music on SoundCloud as well as Bandcamp. I'm unsure if he's still active today, as this one site says his latest album was in 2018. However, his last song posted to SoundCloud is listed at 7 years ago, but there is a digital album on his Bandcamp that was posted on 2016. Either way, this speculation started because people thought that Speeder 2 and Koronba's music were so similar, which they kind of are in a way, but nowhere near close enough to say for sure. Around this time, a Japanese user joined in on the thread and shared some interesting facts with everyone. We also learned that another game similar to Lucid Dream called Nishikigatsu was made, and one of the staff members was Speeder 2. Here's one post of a user on the Uboachan thread listing the similarities between Speeder 2 and Koronba. I don't know whether Koronba and Speeder 2 has a relation, but I like their music. Also, I find many similar and suspicious things in Nishikigatsu games regarding Koronba's style. Any specific examples? Well, things like plants, water, and sometimes colorful lights are very present in their games, just like Lucid Dream and Acor, as well as the game's aesthetic. However, according to their page, Speeder 2 is only responsible for the music and something else I'd translate as writing. Musically, Koronba and Speeder 2 are almost identical. Both share a great ability for composition, especially in harmony order, which is familiar between them. The song Time of the Ox on Speeder's 2 Veranda album on Bandcamp is almost identical in composition to one of the Dream House songs in Lucid Dream Point Dirty. And here's a snippet of both of those songs that this user was referring to. There's another person named Tugu who was also suspected to be Koronba, but again, this was based almost entirely on the similarity of their music, which in this case, the two are really unalike in my opinion. Another user on the thread posted a link to a YouTube channel that could have been Koronba. The channel posted its first video in 2018, and when his channel name is translated, it reads, "It's all your fault." There was supposedly a video that was uploaded to this channel that contained a string of Morse code. However, when I click the link to this video from the Uboachan board, it says that this video was removed due to a copyright claim by It's All Your Fault. At this point in the thread, everyone gets really fixated on this channel and begin translating the song and comparing it to the story of Koronba. And while I could relay what the songs are saying, it would just be really tedious. And either way, the songs just give us a little insight on the possible feelings of Koronba, and we never truly know if it's in fact Koronba or just a fan. The people in the Uboachan thread were also trying to figure out the Morse code from the videos. However, the code was really fast, and as a result, everyone had a hard time translating it. But for pretty much the remainder of the thread, nothing leading to any clear answers were ever found from the Morse code or any of the videos. Everything was just speculation. There were so many different possibilities to this story, and all of them could have either been true or false. It's possible Koronba was deceased and that the channel It's All Your Fault was just some online ARG about Koronba. It's also possible that the channel is owned by a close friend or relative of Koronba. It could possibly be Koronba himself, and it wouldn't be too far of a stretch to say that, as we know of other anonymous names that Koronba has gone by. So the possibility of him running other accounts isn't impossible, although it is less likely, as the amount of effort it would take to actively run multiple identities would be exhausting and impossible to a point. An example is shown in the accusation that he could be Speeder 2. Well, both Speeder 2 and Koronba were active around the same time, making music and stuff, There is a super interesting theory that Koronba might actually be Kikiyama, the creator of the original Yume Nikki, but again, there isn't any real proof to claim that. There's also a bunch of people that were said to be impersonating Koronba, therefore creating false leads for finding out what's happened to him. It's also said that there are some people actively trying to take down discussions or music that give mention to Koronba's name. Even early on in the Uboachan thread, one user complained of how posts kept getting removed. Even though the investigation thread on Uboachan lasted for around 8 years, we still only know about as much as we knew when the thread began. And the last post on the thread made in 2021 gives yet another interesting theory. Bold of you to assume Koronba didn't deliberately invoke the Streisand effect to become a legend. The Streisand effect, for anyone unaware, is the phenomenon where attempts to hide, censor, or prevent access to something instead have the opposite effect, bringing in far more attention. Whatever the case may be, to this day we are only certain of one thing: Koronba has practically erased themselves from the internet.